How's everyone doing tonight?
All right.
You know who my wife hates? She hates my girlfriend. I know you think they'd be over it, they've been sisters all their lives. Been going down some rabbit holes lately. Kind of on the internet, not the furry, real rabbit holes. But you find a lot of answers to questions you really probably didn't want the answer to, you know, like, are there more pedophiles nowadays? The answer to that is, yes, there are better looking kids. I've been reading about a lot of the side effects too in these rabbit holes, about side effects from all the medications out there. And one thing I noticed they all have in common, like Viagra. One of the side effects for Viagra is it might cause impotence. Or the drug for tardive dyskinesia. Does everybody know what that is? That's it's when your body moves uncontrollably. And one of the side effects for that is it might cause uncontrollable movement. So it seems like most of the drugs they sell you should instead just say, this shit might work, it might not. It might give you the thing you're trying to get rid of. There's one drug out there, though, that I used to date a girl and her mother was on this drug, and it's a drug for Parkinson called Rajolizine. And I think a lot of you women would like the drug because the drug causes spontaneous orgasms. I found this out when we were out to dinner at a nice fancy restaurant, and as the waiter's taking the order, she's sliding out of her chair, moaning and groaning and coming up all over her chair. And then as she sits up and lights a cigarette, and the waiter gets to her and he says, I think you're ready for dessert. I thought about starting a dating service for people that are undateable, you know, like pedophiles, you know. I hook them up with midgets. Necrophiliacs, you could send them an inflatable doll. Or better yet, you could bury it in their backyard and give them a treasure map. Make it fun for them. You know?
Ice cold.
Recently, my wife caught me masturbating. Yeah, I forgot she was in the car. They say masturbation's becoming more and more socially acceptable, despite what the manager at the night grocery store said to me. Thinking about going back to school, not to learn anything, I just want to get access to younger girls. I recently had a conversation with my daughter, and I was shocked to find out how traumatized she was by school. And you know, she said between the bullying and the shitty food, and there was a school shooting her senior year, you know, and I've just come to the conclusion that homeschooling just isn't for everyone. You know, I can't help but feel like being responsible, but those kids had it coming. You know, this guy calls his wife from the emergency room and he says, honey, I had an accident. And she says, oh dear, what's happened? And he says, I cut off my finger. She goes, Jesus Christ, the whole finger? And he goes, no, the one next to it. Isn't it sweet when your wife tells you you got soft hands and a firm grip? Not so much when your priest says it to you. The other day I was visiting one of my granddaughters, and she says, Papa, come here. She pulls me in real close, and I tell everybody, This will be important. She's going to tell me something really good. She leans in and she grabs my face and she gives me a kiss and she says, Papa, I love your bald spot. That's the thing about embarrassment is it depends on who embarrasses you, how you react. Usually it's a lot worse when a total stranger embarrasses you, you know. Like when you're going in the grocery store and the door says, push, but you pull and you run into it, and the guy behind you says, jackass, get out of the way. You fucking chase that guy down and kick his ass, you know. But when a relative embarrasses you, you gotta kind of take it and say, yeah, I'm related to that. Good example, I had my granddaughter out at Walmart when she was about 3, and we'd spent the day learning about conjunctions. When you say this word, that word goes with it. You know, putting words together. And she's misbehaving in the toy department. And I said, if you don't sit down and behave, I'm going to spank your butt. And right away, being the genius that she is, she, as loud as she can, she says, you can't touch my butthole. I said, good use of conjunctions, but you're going to get Papa arrested. I took her down to the Weird Herald store and they had a poster of the Nirvana album on the wall, you know, the one with the baby swimming in the pool. I don't know if you've all seen that album cover. And she says to me as we're going up to the counter, she says, Papa, that boy has a penis and he has money. And the guy behind the counter starts to laugh and I said, hey, she already knows what she wants. You know, and when you embarrass somebody else, you know, depending on your connection to them, they may or may not kick your ass, you know. And this is how I know my wife really, really loves me, is because I publicly embarrassed her pretty well on our honeymoon. We went to Chicago, you know, and we had this nice room, and they were supposed to give us a honeymoon suite, but instead they gave us a room with 2 queen-size beds, and we made the most of it. We're partying and having fun, and I was running around the room, and I told my wife, I said, hey, watch this. And I jumped over one bed and landed on the other bed. And when I hit the other bed, there was this huge thud. And then a second later, the bed began to collapse. Boom, 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 all the way to the floor. And I'm like, oh shit, now what are we gonna do? And we'll deal with this in the morning. It's our honeymoon. So in the morning, one of us, I'll let you figure out which one had to, go to the front desk and explain to them that the honeymoon couple broke their bed at night. So as I watched my wife explain this, and they all began to giggle and pass notes to each other behind the counter, they said, sure, we'll get that fixed up for you right away. And we said, well, we're going to go into the city, and when we come back, we'll have a fixed bed. And then we realized we forgot something in the room. Now here's a good lesson for you. Always look into your hotel room before you stay in your hotel room. By the time we got back to the room, there was a little Mexican, foreign, non-English speaking man who's already got the bed standing up against the wall. And then on the floor under the bed that I had collapsed is a box about 3 feet long, foot wide, and you can see the plastic outline of its contents, which is a dildo, a vibrator about the size of my forearm. And the little Mexican man, he looks at that box for a minute, just staring at it. And then he stares at my wife. And then he stares at the box. And then he stares at my wife. And again he stares at the box. And by now my wife's face is about 5 shades of red. And she's realizing what the Mexican must be thinking. And the answer is, no, fuck no. And we backed out of the room. And she's still my wife today. So I know she loves me. Thanks. With all the hate in the world, Go home and love yourself, and then wash your hands.